Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So I thought I'd give you a quick tour around my greenhouse and show you what's going on in here. It's been a while since I've shown you some of the things that are planted in here and how they're getting on. We've got a couple of bottle gourds that are planted as backups. Now these are very young plants, and I planted these just in case because June turned out to be really poor in terms of the weather, and we had some really severe winds that damaged some of my plants quite badly. I thought, just in case, I'll plant a couple of bottle gourd plants just in case some of the others die. And one of them has died, so but I've got 4 of these replacements, so we'll see what happens. So I've got some Malabar spinach here. I did have some in the ground in the greenhouse, but because it was so cold in June, they struggled. They got attacked by slugs and they got destroyed a little bit. But I've got some more in this pot, and hopefully these will get planted out into the greenhouse very soon. Here's a little mango tree that's growing up, coming up quite nicely. So the leaves of that should start opening up pretty soon. And talking of exotic vegetables, here's my jackfruit tree. And this is the jackfruit that I potted up on the Gardener's World episode. So when we were featured on Gardener's World, this is the one that I was talking about, and this is the one that I potted up. This is an interesting plant here. This is a choo-choo. It's a South American plant, and it's called chayote. Yeah, we planted these from seeds from a vegetable that we bought from the grocery store, and we've grown this up. I've got a couple of other choo-choo plants, and they're a little bit bigger. One's quite big actually, and that one's ready to get planted out. This will get planted out in here, and we'll hopefully get some choo-choos this year. I've got some seed trays here that I've got cabbage, pak choi, kohlrabi planted up in the last couple of days, so we can get some autumn harvests. I did a video earlier on in the year where I planted up this hotbed here, and you can see the soil level, how far it's dropped. It's absolutely, I've topped this up twice as well before I planted into it, and it's half a bag. When I planted it, it was up here after I topped it up, so it's really dropped to the soil level. Some of the plants in here are suffering a little bit from aphid damage, but it's not too bad. So I'll get some garlic spray on it and try and get that under control. I'll do a video on how to make my garlic spray, or I'll do a video on how I make garlic spray if you're interested in that. Keep an eye out for it. So in my hotbed, I've got my peppers at the back. They're starting to put on fruit. They're about to start forming fruit. The flowers are just about spent. We've got some aubergines. Let's see what aubergines we've got. When I planted this, I didn't expect the soil level to drop as much as it did. Because the soil level's dropped the way it has done, so the smaller chillies at the front that I expected to be quite high up have suffered because they're just not getting light. So next time around, if I do this, one of the things that I will do to make this better is that I'm not going to use this bag. Instead, I'm going to fit some plastic sheet into the staples and plastic sheet into the inside of the pallets, and that way I'll be able to control it a bit better, because the bag drops out of place. If I'd have stapled it in or fixed it in better than I did, it would have been better. But here's a nice aubergine that has come on way before any of the others, and I think we're going to pick this one. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There we go, that's a nice aubergine. That's not bad, is it? So we'll have that. I've got another one that's almost ready, just over there. So I think I'll leave that for a little bit longer before I pick that one. But these younger chilli plants, they've got lots of chilies on them. And we've got lots of aubergine flowers that are... There's another one that's about to come on. See that? It's going to form another aubergine there. Just there. So that's going to be another form of an aubergine. In these 2 little strawberry punnets, I've got some more kohlrabi and cabbage planted. We'll get those planted out into the garden. Down this side I've got my tomatoes, and we're single stemming these tomatoes. We don't grow a lot of tomatoes in the greenhouse, just a few plants. So I'm going to just take that sucker out there, and I'm going to take that sucker out there, that sucker out there, and that sucker can go as well. We have got quite a few different things planted in here. So that's a luffa gourd growing there. That's another luffa gourd growing there. You can see the flowers coming on. We did have a bit of an accident. That particular luffa gourd, I damaged it myself. It's my own fault that it got damaged. Like I mentioned before, when I built this greenhouse, I probably got to about 90% of the way there and I didn't quite finish the last little bits. And silly me, I left a piece of wood at the top. So I left that piece of wood there unscrewed, and because we'd had some quite strong winds, the wind had loosened the wood and it fell and squashed my luffa gourd plant in half. So it's just sending out some secondary stems now and recovering itself. So what I've got here is I've got lots of different aubergines. So I've got some Black Beauty aubergines. I can't remember if they're Black Beauty or Moneymaker, one or the other. I'm not very good with labelling things, so that's one of my weak things that I need to improve on. But those skinny ones, the ones that grow nice and tall, they're the Italian long purple. And there's another luffa gourd with lots of little flowers that are about to set, so that's looking quite nice. So there's one that's actually set, and hopefully that'll mature into a nice gourd. And there's another one there, just under there.
Yeah, and there's one up there as well.
Is there one up there as well?
Yeah,
okay.
There's a white one behind there.
Okay, so we've got a couple that have set, and hopefully they're going to mature into some nice plants. While I'm here, I better tie this tomato plant in because it's getting way too long. I'm out of bamboo canes, and as you can see, I've started using trimmings and prunings from the garden to try and support things. But with this one, I'm not going to be able to do. I'm just out of everything at the moment, so we're just going to tie this one in. So if you hold that for me. So what I'll do is I'll take that over there. And the way this tomato plant had grown, I started single stemming it, but then it put out this sucker and I forgot about it, and the sucker's become almost like a whole plant in itself. So instead of single stemming it, I'm going to just grow 2 stems from the middle of the plant from there onwards. Paddy, come here sweetheart, come and hold this for me. Just hold that plant, just that, good girl. So there's, I need a little bit first to tie it in at the bottom. Hold on. So let me just get it tied in nicely. Get that cane in.
Is this like a stick from above?
Yeah. So it's going to work. So the way I tie is I always tie with this figure of 8 knot. So you see that? So you don't ever rub the plant against the cane. There we go. And now just do a loop, another loop around there.
What was that?
Okay, loosen that. There we go. That's one. And the way I'm going to do this is I am going to actually tie it. I'm not just going to twist it around. It would have been better there we go. Now I'll do the twist. If I'd have got the string in when the plant was young, then twisting it would have been fine. But there we go. There we go. Over there and there. You can sit there. Now,
are you going to do another loop?
No, I'm not going to do another loop, but I'm just going to stretch it out and make it nice and straight. So that's far enough away. Can I have those scissors?
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's get rid of these suckers. I don't want any more suckers on here.
What's a sucker?
Suckers are side shoots that would, because tomatoes are vining plants, they grow as, they send out lots of little side shoots that would act like plants in themselves. And you can tell a sucker because they normally grow in this leaf joint here, so the main stem, and you have a joint, and then in that armpit is where the sucker goes. With the young suckers you could just pinch out like that. If they were outside I wouldn't grow 2 suckers on a single plant, because the plant just wouldn't have the growing season to produce those tomatoes for me. But because they're inside, these will keep producing all the way up until October. Being inside will give it that extended growing season, and we'll be able to harvest right the way up till that point. So what I'll do is, just to keep the airflow, any leaves that try and cross each other, I'll take those off. Also, what I've done is, in amongst my plants, I've got lots and lots of, well, secondary plants planted. So I've got lots of basil, I've got marigolds. Those basils are starting to set seed and run to seed. And all this basil, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 or 5 plants in here, there's 1 in the house, there's a couple planted out in the garden. And all this basil was from a single £1 supermarket pot. So what I did was, I'll actually show you. You just take a stem like that, snip it in half. And this one's about to set seed, so I'll get rid of that top bit because that's not going to be no good to me. Peel off all those bottom leaves.
They smell nice.
They do smell nice, don't they? Oops, I'm dropping some. Thank you. Just leave that in a pot, in a glass of water, to about there. And within about 10 days, you're going to have roots coming out of there and roots coming out of there. So where those leaf nodes are, you're going to have roots coming out all the way. It's so easy to propagate basil from a cutting. I mean, I'm hopeless at growing basil from seed, especially in this country. We just don't get the heat at the start of the year, and I don't want to waste precious space under my grow lights for something that I can buy for £1 and get so many plants from. I can propagate so easily. It's just so easy. Just leave that in a cup of water, and you're going to have lots and lots of new plants. Within a couple of weeks, you're going to have lots and lots of new plants.
Is that basil?
No, that's a chilli plant. These 2 tomato plants, I'm actually doing an experiment on these 2. Keep an eye out, and I'll tell you I'll show you the results of what I'm doing. So those 2 tomato plants, those 2 aubergine plants, those 2 aubergine plants as well. What I did was I picked 2 plants from roughly the same size, and I'll show you keep an eye out. I'll tell you the experiment that I'm doing when I release the video. So I'm not going to tell you what it is and spoil the fun. Come on this way. Come on, you're going to go that side.
Is that chilli?
That is chilli. So,
There's an
this plant here, this is quite interesting. This is a bitter gourd, and this is my only surviving bitter gourd. We planted some out into the main garden just before the winds hit in mid-June, and the winds completely smashed my luffa gourds and they completely smashed my bitter gourds, and I'm quite disappointed about that. But I'm not disappointed by this. I'm very happy with this. Look at this. So I've got 1 nice size bitter gourd growing there.
Wow.
There's more that are about to set seed, mashallah. So there's set seed. There's more about to set fruit. There's lots. So they'll all make it. So I'm hopefully off this plant.
Over there.
I can see 5 bitter gourds that are going to mature already, and we're still quite midway into the season. So, well, for the gourd season, we're still quite early. So that's quite happy. That's one of the things that I'm quite happy about. More chilies, more aubergines, more peppers over here. So this is a cayenne pepper here, these tall ones. This is a really nice cayenne pepper. You might be wondering what this damage on the leaves is. This is my own fault. I caused the problem myself, and it's because of this spray bottle. In my haste, I rinsed it out, but I must not have rinsed it properly to make some I saw the aphids in here, so I thought I'd make some soft soap solution, and I must have left some of the residue from whatever cleaning product was in here when I sprayed it on. Within minutes of me spraying these plants, trying to sort the aphids out, my wife noticed that the plants had got some black spots on them, and then the day after, all these black spots have turned this horrible, almost like they're burnt from whatever chemical was in this bottle has burnt the plants. I mean, for a moment I thought this plant would actually die because it started shedding leaves quite badly because of it. So what I did was I gave it a little prune, took out some of the tips, and it's putting on new growth and it's recovering. But some of these curled leaves, this is from aphid damage. So if I was going to use a bottle like that again, I'd make sure that I rinsed it and washed it properly and made sure it was 100% clean before I brought it out. I wouldn't be as hasty as I was. That's what happens when you're hasty, isn't it? So you can see here some chillies setting. These are cayenne peppers. I've got some more aubergines across the back. That's a quite interesting one there. It's aubergine, spiky aubergine. Look at that. Look at the leaves on that. You see the leaves?
Yeah, it's like the needle stabbed through it. Why are they spiky?
I don't know why they're spiky. I think it's a defence mechanism. Another nice chilli plant over here, and this is my own cross. So I crossed this cayenne pepper with basket of fire, and they've come out like this. This is the second year I'm growing them, so we'll see how they turn out. If they turn out all right, then I might send you guys some seeds if you're lucky. So back here I've got some more basil growing, more tomatoes. They're basket of fire chilies. So you can see how they start out yellow. So you can see how they start out yellow, and then as they mature they'll go black, and then eventually they'll turn red. This is one of my early tomato plants, and there you go, one ripe tomato back there.
I'm going to eat that one.
Oh, I better get rid of that sucker though. This tomato plant's huge. Look at the size of it. It's just gone mental. But it's quite a leggy plant because it's missing out 2 or 3 leaf nodes before it's putting on another fruit set. And this fruit set's actually got a leaf growing from the end of it. So it's being a bit interesting. Let's get rid of that sucker. It's touched the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it in to this main beam here, but I am tempted to actually try and bend it round and send it that way, see if I can get it. I shouldn't have taken that sucker out really. I could have taken the stem out and sent the sucker that way. It would have been easier to train. That was silly, I shouldn't have taken that sucker out. But anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and send it across that way, bend it and send it that way. Because it's a nice tomato plant and it's growing strong. It's doing okay. What I've got is some red amaranth growing as well. It's actually a different variety of amaranth. I've never grown this one before. Unlike typically the seeds are quite white. These seeds were actually typically the seeds are quite black. These seeds were actually white. So we'll see what these turn out as. This is my ant-infested compost pile. It's absolutely riddled with ants. They've swarmed from here a few times. I came in a couple of days ago and they'd just taken off. They'd developed wings and they were flying off, and this whole area was absolutely chock-a-block full of ants. It was absolutely crazy. And in this compost pile I've got peppers, and I've got a pepper here, a chilli there, and a couple of aubergine plants. And this stray tomato, I mean, I didn't plant this tomato, it grew itself. And because it was growing nice and strong, I didn't have the heart to take it out. So I've just left it. Let's see what this stray tomato produces by itself. I didn't plant it, let it do what it wants to do. I'm just going to let it do what it wants to do. What else have we got? So we've got some hyacinth beans. Our hyacinth beans this year have struggled. I'll be honest with you, they've struggled in here. Those two have just suddenly packed up and decided to die. There's one plant that's going strong over here. Let's bring that over there, and then we'll bring it across. This time last year, all of this roof was green with the hyacinth beans. Got more aubergines and more chillies across the ground. Have we got anything else that's interesting to have a look? I think that's everything, isn't it?
Wait, that's it? There's 5?
There's 5 what?
Of these beans? Of these?
They're not the chillies. Yeah, there's 5 nice big chillies on there. That's okay, leave them. There's going to be more. There's going to be a lot more on there. Don't worry.
I like
yeah, these marigolds are growing absolutely massive as well. These are a different variety of marigold that we've grown. It's this typical French marigold. These are an African variety, but they're absolutely huge. I've got one outside in a plant pot next to it. I thought I'd plant it with next to a chilli plant, and the chilli plant's about 1 foot tall, and this marigold plant's about 3 foot tall. So I don't know about it being a companion plant. It's more being like a I'm taking over plant. So I'm going to get this aubergine inside, ready for my tea. I'll leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.